Welcome to Through a Glass Darkly Radio. You're listening to us on United Public Radio. And the intro music that you heard there was Mark of the Doomslayer by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Oh, what a time to be alive. We are witnessing catastrophic disclosure as it's happening in real time. And by real time, these things are starting to show up over the area where I grew up. So I'm getting real-time intel. It's not in it's not in all the papers, the news media. Some of them are ignoring it, some of them aren't. But what a time to be alive. So, just it is so today we're going to focus primarily on this drone development and so many things that I have to talk about because some of this stuff is starting to affect me personally, and I'll tell you why. So yesterday, I put out a 10-point zeet, I guess you can call it, on X about kind of what's been going on and what's going to happen going forward. And this is not based on necessarily what I think. This is just based on historical precedent. So just to paint a picture of what's going on right now, the world is in flux. As you all know, Bashar al-Assad died yesterday. The Russians are withdrawing from Syria. We have some new government coming in. The incompetent elites that run our country think it's going to be a democracy. I think you're going to have, by the time it's all said and done, there will be an Islamic caliphate there because we allied with Al Qaeda and ISIS to kind of make it happen. So just more rife incompetence. But I could be wrong, Bruno. I could be wrong. It says he arrived safely in Russia, I believe. Yeah, there was a transponder that suddenly just went dark. But yeah, again, I'm all about truth. If that's really what happened, I'm willing to entertain it. But it is high drama. So what happened in recent weeks, and I kind of know this, I put this out on X as well before I saw any reports, although there were reports in early January of 2024 indicating that we were thinking about doing this. But all of a sudden, all these drones appeared over Lakenheath, RAF, Royal Air Force Base, basically in the UK, Mildenhall, and Feltwell, something like that. And they just suddenly appeared. So I immediately said on Twitter, X, I don't care, I'll get it wrong, doesn't matter, that it's very likely that we forward deployed nuclear weapons, probably tactical nuclear weapons. About 3 days later, there was a report that came out that said that we had just moved them in there. So these things always appear when there's movement of nuclear weapons and things like that. So, and apparently we had moved these B-61-12 nuclear weapons, which are, I guess, our equivalent of a TAC nuke, but they're still like 50 kilotons apiece, which is over 3 times the explosive power of each bomb that we used in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So this is kind of classic stuff. Now, the official narrative has bifurcated. There's 2 narratives that are floating around right now. I don't know which is more absurd. One threatens to cause an escalatory spiral between the Russians and the United States and maybe even China. And the second one exposes the United States government to massive litigation risk. I'm not sure which, but these are not the highly seasoned national security professionals that we had during my father's time and my grandfather's time. During that period of time, highly qualified people went into those professions because there wasn't such a mismatch between what you could make in the private sector and what you could make in the public sector. Today, that's not, it's not the same dynamic. And not only that, in the last, 5 to 10 years, we've had, like, I'm not trying to be political, but DEI has run amok. And what's happened is, instead of just putting the most qualified person in a position, regardless of race, they're just trying to find people of certain criteria and shoving them into positions before they're ready, or in positions when they may never have been ready. I'm looking at you, Secretary of Defense Austin. Okay, so, like, there are real examples of this that are clear examples of incompetence. Though I don't like Trump's pick either. To be honest, I don't think he's qualified, but for different reasons. Regardless of that, we just don't have our eyes on the ball. We're not thinking about narratives. We're not thinking about how we're going to contain it. I think the Good Trouble show zeted that Julian Barnes, they were getting him to write a narrative on this, right? That's a New York Times reporter that, they kind of frequently, they just shovel whatever they want the public to know, and then he just repeats it. So, or has repeated it in the past. I don't want to disparage anybody, but he's not associated with someone who is willing to entertain a reasonable explanation for these things. So right now, this stuff is spreading. So it started out, kind of in Mildenhall. Before that, it was in Langley Air Force Base. That was in December 2023. At the time, someone who was an Air Force colonel told me that it was just a jurisdictional issue, and I reported it as such. Now I don't believe that story anymore. I believe they were probably moving nuclear weapons to that facility at the time, and they also had a drone incursion. They had to ground flights. They had to do all sorts of things. And the fact that they've had, excuse my language, an entire fucking year to figure out how to deal with this, and they still can't figure out what to do, tells me pretty loud and clear it was not a jurisdictional issue. Okay, it's something else. So that's where we are now. I want to admit that I could be wrong. I'm willing to admit that there is a chance that our elites are so incompetent, like astonishingly incompetent, that the Russians and the Chinese possess drones that we're incapable of shooting down, that are rad hardened and impossible for us to use stingers against, man pads, all that stuff. That's a possibility. So I think it's a very small possibility. But regardless of that, this drone incursion kind of began around Picatinny Arsenal and one of Trump's golf courses in New Jersey, and it subsequently spread out to Pennsylvania. I've seen reports over Connecticut. So it's becoming a general kind of Eastern Seaboard wide phenomena. I've also seen reports of some flying over Sacramento. Again, there's a lot of noise to signal right now. So I'm just reporting things that I've seen. I've not verified. But I'm starting to get reports from friends who are sending me stuff from local apps that they have that people are seeing in their skies, particularly in Delaware County in Pennsylvania tonight. So if you're in Delaware County in Pennsylvania, look up in the skies. I think they've been sighted over Broomall, Springfield, places like that. So this is getting real. So regardless, I pushed out this kind of 10 things that I thought were going to happen. I'm going to go over them again. If you've already read them, my apologies, but I will provide some interesting context to these predictions, because I don't think we're necessarily getting the intended, or whoever's doing this is not necessarily getting the intended effect out yet. So it's going to have to escalate. And when it escalates, that's when it starts to get really interesting. And then, there's other things that after I put this out, I got a response. Now, it could just be a response from some citizen off the street. There's no way for me to verify, but the way it was done, I'm right over target. I'm right. And you know what? Like, if you threaten me subtly, I'm just sunlight is the best disinfectant. I'm just going to tell everybody on the radio show. My 400 or 500,000 closest friends are going to know about it immediately. So we're going to go into that too, veiled threats and subtlety and things like that. It's going to be a fun one because I love it. You just confirmed that I'm on the like I'm in your OODA loop. I am in your OODA loop. Okay, and I'm going to keep doing it because if I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to be doing, just let me know. I'm a patriot. I love my country. I don't want to do anything that's going to harm it. But if you're going to subtly threaten me, you're not on my side. You're my enemy. You are the enemy. If you're trying to hide something from the American people that is this monumental, you're the enemy, especially if you use threats and coercion to do things. So I'm going to get into that a little bit. Okay. But I am right over target, people. Maybe. Again, it could just be some citizen off the internet who, happened to contact me in a really weird, indirect way that required some gumshoeing, right? But I doubt it. I doubt it. So anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to kind of go through what I just, opened this thing with. All right. So if this mystery drone flap continues, which by all indications it very likely will, and the historical pattern holds, we can expect to see the following things in the next few days and weeks, okay? And they're going to accelerate, right? Or attenuate based on the current geopolitical situation. So if US or Russia gets closer to testing nukes, right? Probably underground tests, which they haven't tested for over 30 years, right? So none of us, the Russians and the Americans, we have no idea if our nukes are going to, well, we have some idea, I'm sure, but we haven't tested them in 30 plus years, either side, because of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty and other treaties related to it. Okay. So that would be before you see a nuclear weapon used in a single nuclear weapon used in anger, that will be part of the escalatory spiral, right? You will see an underground nuclear test. And once you start doing that, buckle up because it's going to get wild, okay, with these sightings and other things. So if we choose to accelerate, that's probably, or you're going to see a lot more of this stuff. Now, if it attenuates and kind of calms down, then it'll pass, and then, people will have the usual amnesia that humanity has. But this is stuff that occurred in like the 40s, 50s, most of the 40s and 50s. And if you review the historical record of this, you kind of have a pretty good template of what's going to happen. And that's all I did. Okay. So the first thing is you're going to see expansion of UAP sightings over more cities, areas. This phase has already begun. Okay. Number two, you're going to see an increase in the disinfo narrative. So the government was much more competent with these back in the 1950s and 60s and 40s, to be clear. And the population was far more compliant and had less access to conflicting information. That is not the case now. After all the bridges that the current elites kind of burned with with the population, it's going to be much harder for people to swallow what's going on. So today's Mirage men are clearly not as competent given the insane counter narratives that they're spewing out. So I mentioned this at the very beginning. They're either escalatory, so e.g., Russia and China air assets are regularly committing acts of war. Acts of war. These are acts of war, people, by routinely violating U.S. and U.K. airspace, and our military assets are utterly impotent in downing them. Okay? So you got to believe that. You got to believe that these assets, these foreign adversary assets, are routinely violating our airspace, and there's absolutely nothing that we can do to take them down. There hasn't been anything for us to do to take them down since December 2023, minus the shoot down of the balloons over Myrtle Beach, right? And there's also shoot downs over, I think 3 shoot downs over Canada and / Dead Horse, Alaska. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it. Okay. So that's one of the ridiculous narratives that they put out there. The second narrative would expose these governments to massive litigation risk. And that narrative is, Oh, we were just secretly testing hyper, super duper, amazing advanced drones over areas that only have the heaviest concentrations of people in the entire United States. New Jersey, for people who don't know, is the most concentrated, highly concentrated state by population in the United States. Okay. So we did this without telling anyone, including the FBI, which, oh, by the way, is investigating the sightings, especially when we have thousands of square miles of training areas of multiple military bases globally that we could do and test these things without disrupting life flights, etc. I know because I was on one of those bases. It was the National Training Center. It had 1,000 square miles in the middle of the Mojave Desert. We could have tested these things all day long. In fact, we tested the javelins before, back in 2000 or so, before they even became a thing and before anybody knew about them. We tested all sorts of stuff out there. Why would you test it over a heavily populated center? So basically, the Mirage Men are creating two insane narratives that one could either risk nuclear war or could advance nuclear war a lot quicker, or they're exposing the U.S. government to massive litigation risk. Okay, so this is already in process, people. The third thing that you'll see is social media operations to discredit UFO researchers and increase the stigma associated with the field. So the way these operations work, they involve using sock puppet accounts to spread videos of perfectly normal phenomena. So they'll take an aircraft, helicopter, and balloons, and they'll kind of dim the photo so it looks like these really weird, funky lights. And they'll package them in ways that are ambiguous so they go viral in the UFO community. Once they reach a fever pitch or critical mass, a debunker like a Nick West or a Stephen Greenstreet will come out and soundly explain away the video, and they'll be correct. They'll be 100% correct. And then by implication, they'll use the virality to taint the entire field and declare that, oh, since this video fooled everyone, then they probably all are. And this, again, this is actively occurring now. I've seen two examples of it in real time, again, with both Mick West and Stephen Greenstreet. The fourth aspect of this is social engineering and network node analysis. So what network node analysis is they use social engineering to map out social networks. And then what they do is they find clusters of networks and find individuals who are connecting these massive networks in all sorts of different directions. And then what they do is they target those individuals who could be media influencers, things like that, in order to shape the narrative. And by target, I mean influence. Target sounds a little bit more too military, but influence them into the narrative that they want to perpetrate, okay, or perpetuate. So malactors in the intelligence community are using software that actually does this. It was developed at the turn of the century to map key nodes and social networks among key social media influencers. And by the way, I know about this because I've seen it. When I worked at Booz Allen Hamilton, they had this tool, and they were using it to map out Chinese princelings as well as Saudi princelings, all that sort of stuff to kind of shape the networks. They were also using it to identify, define, and then target terror networks. That was the main place where they used this technology. But since the government, since that time, has turned all these wide-ranging domestic powers that were granted to them in the wake of 9/11 and weaponized them against the American people, why wouldn't they use this stuff against us? They probably, why wouldn't they? So they're also seeking to influence quote-unquote elite networks behind the scenes using apps like Signal to spread preposterous narratives while shielding their public reputations from the scrutiny it may invite. And this is actively happening now. I'm not part of one of these Signal networks. These people know better than me. But there is a real-world example where someone who is in the know, had a TSSCI clearance, tried to spread the narrative that these drones are being run by transnational networks that are loosely affiliated with Russia and Chinese, okay? Or concerns. Now, the problem with that is they're better at flying these drones than the U.S. military, and they're so advanced that they are consistently evading all these defenses that we have. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. So the fifth thing is just reports of electromagnetic interference with electronics. All right. So there are already sporadic reports with it like this. Now, someone in the intelligence community helpfully has added that sometimes this electromagnetic interference might not necessarily be, some weird electromagnetic impact of esoteric or highly advanced non-human technology. It could also simply be that the US military or organizations within the federal government may be trying to use electromagnetic jammers to jam the signal of the radio network, but the FM signal between the drones and the drone operator or the drone source or whatever to take these things down. So that may also be causing some electromagnetic interference, but expect to see a ramp in this activity over time. All right, number 6. This is the next thing you're going to see. Okay, I don't think we've seen it yet, but decoy operations by the government to provide evidence of a counter narrative, right? I.e., it's commercial drones or it's Russian drones, Chinese drones. So the U.S. Air Force did this with balloons in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and that's to increase the noise to signal ratio and hide what's really going on. So you might see something like, "We got it, we got a drone, we took it down," and something like that will be heavily covered by the news. That will be your first clue. If it's on every station, things like that, particularly mainstream media, that is a clear sign that it is a false narrative that's meant to put this to bed. So, you smash up a drone a little bit, you have a little press conference, you show, yeah, we took it down. We think it's these transnational networks. We're actively rolling them up, blah, blah, blah. And, they'll have a few press conferences with the usual suspects. They'll round them up, just march out a bunch of, illegal migrants that cross the border during, Biden administration and say, boom, we wrapped it up, cleaned out, everything's good, done. Okay. This is when it gets interesting. So the more the powers that be resist what's really happening and are trying to obfuscate the truth, you might see some real shoot downs and landings. Okay. So there's already one report of a potential shoot down over the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. Okay. I haven't heard anything since yesterday, but you're going to see stuff like that. But when I also say landings, you see landings of craft that, may just get close to people's homes, things like that. I think we were reported last week there's a drone flying at window height with somebody, and things are going to get definitely weirder. That leaves it to number 8, sightings of operators and entities. Okay, this is when things start to get really weird. There'll be an increase in high strangeness, such as missing time, strange entities spotted near UAP sightings and landings. You'll have ground traces, right, where the vegetation in the circle grows faster than the vegetation outside the circle, indicating some sort of differential slip in time, right? It could just be that time's passing faster inside the circle than outside. And this is something that the Soviets observed during, sightings that they've had during the Cold War, where they would actively try to measure the time differentials. And these apparently effects are persistent. They fade over time, but they're still persistent. You also see potentially poltergeist activity in homes, orb sightings, or an increase in orb sightings. So get ready for that. Now, closely associated with these sightings, when we get to number 9, are visits by the so-called men in black. Now, some of these individuals will just be FBI. Some will be the airplane, people in plain clothes who represent the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. And others still will be something that mimics both, but has historically been reported as entirely highly strange and otherworldly. So, and, again, this is just whenever you have this weirdness, These are the things that are associated with it. Okay. Now, if the geopolitical situation continues to spiral, the situation may result in an increase in alleged abduction activity. Now, this is where the powers that be get really nervous. They don't want people talking about this. You might see, cattle mutilations, stuff like that, like this, but they don't want people talking about this. Okay. Now, this came out yesterday. It did very well. It's probably the most viral tweet zeet I've ever had. Now, as a caveat, I want to caution people this analysis could be entirely off the mark. Okay. It is informed speculation on my part, right? But it is that it's informed speculation. In order for this to be true, right? So if the analysis is completely off the mark and it's one of the two other things that are being paraded out right now, right? Either Russian, Chinese affiliated drones or some ridiculous secret classified exercise over the most concentrated state in America, or the most densely populated state in America, then one would have to ascribe an astonishing level of incompetence to the elites in control of the U.S. military-industrial complex. Now, based on the withdrawal from Afghanistan, it's totally possible. It is absolutely totally possible. So let's just bear that in mind. All right. Now let me go back to the audience. I have not been reading any of the comments, but I want to add the bit about the veiled threat pretty soon. Actually, before I do that, this came in from a friend in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. So just give me a second here. Okay. I don't know if you can see that too clearly, but let me see if I can just make this a little bit bigger. All right. So do you all see that? This was spotted over Broomall, Broomall, Pennsylvania, I believe yesterday. Does that look like a drone to you? Like, what is that? Is it a reflection from the lights below? I don't know. That seems to be like a pretty structured craft of some sort. So again, this stuff is happening in real time. I don't know what to make of it, but it's kind of crazy stuff. So let's see. All right, I'm gonna start going through comments really quickly, and then I got to get into veiled threats, okay? Because I can't let that one go. Okay. Yep, it's definitely a clear. I mean, I shouldn't say definitely. I don't know, but yeah, the B60. Oh, 60. I said B6, I think, but yeah, 61-12 with a variable yield, dial a yield in informational military jargon. Does it? Yeah, I think there's a -12 though. The -12 is 50 kilotons, whatever that means. What do I think about the RIF? Did he really have? Whoa, I'm not aware of that, Kasoon. You said the RAF UK event. Did he really have an info download from? Say more. I haven't heard anything about this. Is this something that recently like happened in the last few days, weeks? Yeah, yeah. There's sightings all over the place right now. Good to see you, Gray Owl. Yeah, I don't think like blue on. There are areas for blue on blue operations, and you don't fly experimental aircraft over densely populated centers of civilians. Like it's a no-no. And you sure as heck don't do it if the FBI doesn't know about it and other major law enforcement agencies. Like you just that's not how it's done. And if somebody decided to do that, they need to be fired immediately and tried and then spend some prison time. It's not blue on blue. Okay, let's see. I'm just going through as fast as I can. Yeah. No, if it were the Russians or Chinese, David, they would be shouting this from the mountaintops because it would serve their interests. It would serve the desire to further support Ukraine and funnel money there. No, I think it's the least likely. I think they're opening themselves to massive lawsuits if that's the case. You also don't fly advanced drones over population centers like that. Like it's highly dangerous. Oh, the subtle. Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. I just want to get through the comments first, and then I will show you the threat. Like I'm going to publish it here. It's not, and it's very subtle. Hey man, Nathaniel, you got to call me back, or you got to like text me back. I was worried about you the other day. You've reached out, and then I heard nothing, or email, or whatever. Like it was just like crazy town. You got to let me know. Well, it's not about fit. It's just if you had a vacuum cleaner, right, Rob, and you hadn't used it for 30 years, would it still work? Or if you had a computer that you hadn't turned on in 30 years, would it still work? It might, right? But 30 years? Do you even have a computer that you had for 30 years ago? Same thing with a car. If you haven't started a car in 30 years and you try to start it, I guarantee it wouldn't work. Well, I shouldn't say guarantee, but it probably wouldn't work, right? Battery might be dead. There might be all sorts of components that have just rusted out, things like that. Like, who knows? Yes, I think they're reacting to the movement of them. They did. That's what happened with the USS Nimitz. They had nuclear weapons on board, so it attracted these things. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely getting crazy. All right, I'm trying to go fast. I am trying to go fast, folks. Drone cars. Oh boy. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just saying the two explanations that are coming out don't make any sense. That's all I'm saying. I'm not. I don't have enough data to say what these things really are. Right. So I'm not ruling out anything because there's not enough data to rule out anything. Oh, this is crazy. Oh, I'm gonna share this. Somebody just sent this to me. Obviously not gonna reveal who they are or anything like that, but let me see if I can share this. I'm getting data in real time, so let's just um, present, share screen. Okay, so check this out. All right, I'm just going to read this so people can see it. Pentagon officials held a classified briefing with the House Oversight Committee to discuss unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP sightings over New Jersey. I think this happened on Friday. Okay. New Jerseyans have reported UAPs, including spinning orbs, hovering objects, and drone storm like arrays nearly every day the past several weeks. The FAA subsequently added new New Jersey airspace restrictions, and the FBI opened an investigation. While officials have not specified what the objects may be, many believe them to be drones. New Jersey's police chief said that the UAPs appear, quote unquote, appear nefarious in nature. Okay. So So take that for what it is. Okay. Oh, that's coming. That's coming. They're going to start using other random tech to increase the noise to signal ratio. So, yeah, there's sorry, I'm just trying to go through this as quickly as yes, I agree I'm cold. I think they've been here for a very long time. They might just be another life form on the planet that we're just not capable of perceiving in the same way that they can perceive. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's been here a long time. It could also just be a simulation, right? I am open to any and all explanations, except the bullshit that they're feeding us, which is absurd. And even then, I could be wrong. Even then, I could be wrong. Yeah, yeah, probably. Well, they're going to have black ops in order to have in order to fit their narrative, right? They're going to have to create a situation where they shoot something of our own down and then claim victory. No, 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 no. It's not view. I'm just trying to get through all this. Yeah, yeah. Human mutilations are definitely. I didn't even get to that, but I don't know if that's something I would predict. Yep. All right. I keep going through. Yeah, it could be mimicry too. There are signs of things that look like 737s, and they're flying over somebody's house without a sound. Like that's not. Uh, that's a good question. I think there's like a further east, or sorry, further west. You have the Susquehanna River, which 3 Mile Islands there. There's a nuclear power plant there, but it could just be that we're getting a demonstration along the Eastern Seaboard. Oh yeah, Bentwaters, the download. Yeah, I don't know if he got a download or not. I just know that they won't release his medical information, which is sketchy. Yeah, they're definitely going to keep. Like, I'm not holding my breath. They're not going to tell us the truth. So, all right. Yeah, I don't know. It's I. It's hard to tell. It could be a mixture. It could be a mixture of both. It could be both. It could be that these things can phase shift into plasma. I don't know. Yeah, that's the other thing. If they were transnational Russian Chinese drones, they would not leave lights on, right? It's not very tactical. You don't want to be discovered. But whatever this phenomena is, it wants to be seen. It wants to be very clear as to what's happening. And I don't think the Russians can't even evade Patriot missiles with their Sukhoi 35 aircraft in Ukraine, right? They just, or they barely are able to evade it. So why would they send their best stuff to the United States to mess with us and then risk it being shot down by making it very obvious? I don't know. Yeah, they were. If only they were a specialized sensor suite designed to identify, detect, and geolocate signals across the magnetic spectrum near Mildenhall. Oh wait, river joints are based there. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Wang Wang, where'd you see it? Oh, near in Ohio. Who knows? Yeah, that's another interesting. They've been very quiet. Only Mitch Randall has been out there saying stuff. It's kind of weird. Oh, he has covered the Collins Elite. I have a whole episode with him, the Collins Elite. Just go to my channel and look for the call it. The I have a playlist called Nathaniel Gillis, and it has all my episodes with Nathaniel Gillis. One of which is all about the Collins Elite. Yeah, 100%, Terrence. Terrence, I would imagine the intelligence community is probably telling him to keep his mouth shut right now. Wow, there are a lot of comments. Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So Terrence is saying these are appearing in China and Russia too. So what does that mean? It could mean that this is a prelude to disclosure. So thank you, Terrence. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be that too. Could be some massive false flag. I doubt it. I don't understand. I'm not sure why they would do it. Let's see. Yeah, some of the counter drone technology that we have are basically drones that you send up that bang right into, right? We haven't seen any of that. Why? Why? Okay. No, I'm building up tension for the subtle threat. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it could be completely innocent. It was just the timing of it was very weird. Yeah, it wants to be seen, whatever it is. You know how you can tell Solite if the North Koreans deployed nukes along the DMZ or in the artillery guns? Um, if you're seeing drones appearing over the DMZ, that's your first clue. So yeah, they probably push some of this stuff. Yeah, that's the change of the sea argument. So Jesse Roberts is right. And the other thing to remember is we are about to give birth to some kind of super AI if we haven't already. They'd be way more interested in that than in humans. Like we are just the eggshells. So that I think is the conceit of that novella Chains of the Sea, where the ETs aren't interested in humanity at all. They barely notice us, but they're very interested in AI. Yes, Nathaniel, that's 100% true. So Nathaniel writes, I heard they were stalking our FBI agents in their very homes. So the one of the FBI agents that was investigating these drones or a drone appeared over his house. Okay, now, uh, being a highly sophisticated drone operator is one thing, but being able to know of the thousands of people that are on the ground looking up at you, that one particular person happens to be the person that's investigating you, and then following them home and knowing to follow them home and kind of harassing them that way, we don't have that technology. Russia doesn't have that technology. China doesn't have that technology. Let's see. Drone. So Nismo's writing the drones are probably a low-level dragnet operation to zap UAPs out of the sky. UAPs are mostly invisible, but we have tech to hit them with energy weapons and knock them out of the sky. The zap weapon we could use mounted on the drones in center flying formation if we picked up UAP on radar. Hence the reason they are flying in low formation and hovering over certain areas. These drones belong to the U.S. Hence the reason they aren't acknowledging them, and no one seems. Yeah, I think we would acknowledge them. Yeah, I think there's more of this is coming. Yeah, Cliff High. I think. I mean this this isn't like a an invasion in the traditional sort, but like figuratively, it's an invasion. Like our skies are being invaded with these strange drones. So yeah, 100%, Nathaniel. Absolutely disturbing. Before Jesse Roberts. Um. Yeah, yeah, I will. Let me just. I'm almost there. Oops. Good. Oh, and Jolly, good to see you. Hey, I'm trying to schedule an interview with you. I think I sent you an email, but I haven't heard back from you. So please do respond. I'd love to have you on the show. Uh, yeah. So 380 is probably somewhere in the infrared spectrum. 1280 is kind of ultraviolet, I'm guessing. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a quote unquote drone that was that was the one that Stephen Greenstreet debunked. Um, yeah, your comment may have not made it. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, no worries. Looking forward to it. Okay. All right. This is what I got. Well, actually, one more. One more just popped in. I'm in New Jersey. The drone that fell today was huge. We were told not to go near it, more like ordered to stay away. Yeah. And they can say, look, they'll rig it with explosives, this and that, right? It's pretty easy to dismiss, but you never know. All right. So, all right, let me share this next one. Okay. Just give me a second. So, we're talking about veiled threats. So share screen. Okay. All right. So I blocked out the name for two reasons. One, this could have come from just a random citizen, so I don't want to dox anybody. Two, if it is from somebody in the intelligence community, I love my country. I'm a patriot. I don't think our intelligence community should be lying to the American people, but they also might need this for other things like counterterrorism and things like that. So I don't want to have kind of dox one of their whatever fake IDs, so they can't use it in legitimate operations other than like waging war against the American populace. So let me explain the context of this, because the context of this is really strange. So I did not get this message on my YouTube channel, on this YouTube channel. This message, I have a personal YouTube channel. Okay. And on that personal YouTube channel, I had 3 public videos, and they were associated with work that I do as a contractor for Stanford University. That's completely independent from all this. Okay. So the day after I sent that Zeet that, went viral, I got this. So someone had to look me up, had to go and find my personal YouTube channel, had to watch one or several of the videos, and then helpfully post this. And I'm just going to read it. So, Sean, here we are, nearly 5 years later. Maybe I missed the answer elsewhere, but did Stanford cut you loose when Through a Glass Darkly took off? I've always viewed TTGD as being fantasy, in the genre of James Mill in Report to the Commissioner, i.e., a sophisticated fantasy fiction, but recently some of the segments make as much as, if not more, sense than what passes for news analysis. Did I also miss something there? Is TTGD now fact based? Okay, so what's important to note about this is it's very subtle. Okay, so they went, found my personal thing, and said something to the effect of, I'm just going to translate it. I noticed you also do contract work for Stanford, and it seems like you have a pretty interesting pedigree that would be somewhat resistant to this conspiracy theory business. And because of that, I just assumed that since you were a fiction writer, that you were just kind of having fun with this and making it up, right? Right? Correct? And sure would be a shame if Stanford found out about what you're doing here. It would be kind of a problem if that got out. Right? Right? So let me be unambiguously clear. To me, either there's two possibilities. This is just some random citizen and I'm misreading it, in which case, okay, whatever. No harm, no foul. Or this is someone that didn't like what I put up, and it's their subtle way of saying, you might want to reconsider doing this because it's just not in your best interest. Let me be unambiguously clear here. Okay? If I love my country and I will do what's best for it. But don't threaten me. I don't, especially if it's subtle, if it's this passive aggressive fucking bullshit. Okay? Because I will do what I do. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. So I will just show 400 to 500,000 people or who are listening or read it out loud so that they know. I don't respond to threats at all. The other thing that this tells me, given the timing of it and given the weird kind of going to my personal account, kind of tying it to what I do in kind of the other parts of my life, that tells me I'm right over target. That is a data point. And the data point comes in two ways. It's proximity to the first post that I had and in the message. So I'm in somebody's OODA loop. Okay. So for people who don't know, it's a warfighting term. It means observe, orient, decide, act. OODA loop. And generally in warfare, the person who's able to go through that loop faster is the one who wins. And what's happening right now is many of the public researchers are in the control group or whoever the uh, elites are who manage this narrative. We're in their OODA loop right now, and they don't know what to do. They're like firing off these ridiculous narratives. They're subtly threatening people. I don't play that game. If you want me to stop talking about this, make an argument to me directly and in a way that treats me like the patriot that I am, as somebody who served in the army for 5 years. Okay? Don't threaten me. You threaten me, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to say it louder and clearer, and people are going to know I am over target, people. I'm over the target. Okay? If I wasn't over the target, I wouldn't get weird, creepy, little subtle threats like that. Maybe. Okay? Again, I want to emphasize that maybe I read it wrong. Maybe it's just a weird coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. Not anymore. Speaking of which, if you're following my community tab, and this is I don't know what to make of this, but it was weird. Okay. And I've done some subsequent research on it. The night that there was a drone swarm, UAP, something reported over Sacramento. I live south of Sacramento, okay, in the kind of San Francisco Bay Area. Early morning, I'd say between the hours of 4 to 5:28 a.m. I know 5:28 a.m. because it's the last time I checked the clock. I woke up. We live kind of in a cul-de-sac, right? So there's no stores nearby, anything like that. And we leave a window open. I live the second floor, or sleep on the second floor. We have a balcony, small, tiny balcony, can fit about 2 or 3 people max, and it'd be tight if it was 3 people. I smelled a very strong scent of cinnamon, extremely strong scent, just out of nowhere. I have kids that sometimes will make stuff in the morning, things like that. They were not up. Nobody was. I mean, it was still pitch black, and this smell just kind of drifts in, and I wake up my wife and I say, "Do you smell that?" Right? Because that there could be some psychosomatic thing with me. Who knows? And I'm like, "What? Does that smell like cinnamon to you?" She's like, "Yeah, it does." It kind of, and we didn't really think much of it. Went back to sleep, and or at least tried to go back to sleep. And shortly thereafter, 3 hoots of the great horned owl. Okay, as one does. That's it. That's all I have. When we woke up in the morning, there was no residual smell of cinnamon. It came and went. I subsequently went and just did some research on it. On page 19 of Communion, there's a scene where these entities have abducted Whitley Strieber, and they ask him, "What can we do to to help you stop screaming?" And he said, kind of strangely, "Can I smell you?" Right? Because it was, and his argument was it was kind of intuitive, but it also helped ground him. And so he did. And what he reported was they smelled like cardboard with a mix of cinnamon. Now, I'm not saying anything like that happened, but that is one place in the literature where it goes. The other place is in the kind of in a cult context. It is associated. Cinnamon is kind of the counterpart to sulfur, right? So when you smell it, it is a sign of benevolent entities visiting, ancestors, family members, things like that. It is a unambiguous sign of like positive protection, guidance, things like that. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know what to make of it. It could just be that, somebody decided to get up at 4 a.m. Couldn't have gone to a coffee shop because nothing would have been opened. Decided to make some cinnamon something, and went outside and went walking around. Right. That could be a perfectly legitimate counter, you know, mundane explanation. I don't know, but it was weird, and giving the timing of all this stuff makes it weirder still. So let's I think I got behind myself now on all the comments. So let's see. Okay, here we go. Oh man. Yeah, could be a C5 thing. Yeah, but it's only a mind job if it affects me, but it doesn't. This is just me communicating to that whoever did that, right? I mean, if it's just a citizen, no harm, no foul. But if it's something more related to what's going on with the drones, I I, I don't respond to terrorism. I just don't. I don't negotiate with terrorists, and that's all. That's all. I'm just going to make it public, right? Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Full stop. Okay. I know, 100%. That would have been my argument. If anybody went and said anything about that, I'd be like, yeah, and it's got nothing to do what I do here. Um, I didn't even mention what I do for Stanford, and it's just a contract. I'm not an employee. Gary Nolan is an actual employee of Stanford, so um, Yeah, I don't think so either. What's ZZ? They're obviously ZZ. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they could just yeah, it could just be they don't want the planet destroyed. Yeah, I don't think it's another content creator because the other conceit on that is since my channel took off, my channel has not taken off. Okay. I've been at it for 3 years. I look at people who are doing the same thing who started a year ago and they have like 4 times the size of my audience. So I have not taken off. Right. So, and that's for whatever reason. I'm not making excuses, but I have not taken off. So hopefully someday, maybe, but not yet. Yeah, maybe. Beats by Jiro. Yeah, it could be. It could be angelic. I don't know. I don't. I'm ignorant. I can. Yes, exactly. Who knows? Yeah, it was a wonderful smell. I did not feel scared or anything like that. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, no. If you do the research, it is. It's associated with positive spiritual entities. Yeah, it was a nice, warm kind of smell and feeling that you have when you get that. So anyway, that's kind of the extent to what the preparation I did for tonight. But I don't think I don't think this drone stuff is stopping anytime soon. I think you're going to continue to see it for a while, especially since our government and the powers that be are completely and utterly obstinate in terms of how they're dealing with this. So let's see. Yeah, I also have a stronger sense. Like my is much better than my eyesight. That's for sure. I'm not going to say that out loud. That's fantastic. Oh my god. Ugh. Oh yeah, it will look like a fire. But again, it could be. How do we know that it's not like a like some sort of like decoy, right? Yep, shot it down. It's all this. Nothing to see here. Move along, etc., etc. Right? Yeah, that was pretty good. I appreciate that. Well, you're gonna have to try harder. There are other things you could do now that are more de rigueur or whatever the de rigueur. I don't know French. Um, I can think of one off the top of my head, but I'm not going to say it because it'll get me in trouble. But just think of I'm for the next thing, right? I'm for the current thing. You should put your mind to that, and you'll find it. Uh, Actually, Fruity Pebbles are better, I think. I think they taste better. I don't know if he's a disinformation agent, but he's definitely there to control the narrative. He's definitely there to steer the narrative in a certain direction. So the direction they don't want you to steer, they don't want you going anywhere near human abductions, human mutilations, or cattle mutilations, right? They don't they don't want that stuff to come out just yet or whatever it is. Like I shouldn't say I don't know what they think or what they know, but I just know that anytime you talk about that stuff, there's like a you know, there's a push away from it, right? There's like a taboo against it. And there's a taboo against it for a very specific reason. Let's see. Marshmallow Fruit Loops. Hey, Christian, good to see you. I was on Christian used one of my clips where I was ranting on his show, so I appreciate that. Guys, you got to stop. You're going to get me like banned. You're going to get me like in trouble from YouTube. So, thank you, Anjali. Oh, who refused to, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they were nervous about Whitley making comments. Well, I'm not gonna at another venue. They were really nervous about it. They didn't want to touch that one yet because I guess it's like one of the last things that they have to work through in a disclosure narrative. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's forced, but it's clearly a demonst. Well, if it's not humans running drones and things like that, yes, it's a clear and unambiguous demonstration. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. If that's true, yeah, it's Kill the Stigma podcast. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it depends on what you define. I guess a podcast is supposed to have interviews. I don't know. I don't even know what the proper definition of podcast is. So anyway, I just know I'm right over target. So I'm just folks are just not as good as they used to be in disinformation. Like they're just not as good as they used to be. Yeah, I think that's right. Um, I know I need to gather my thoughts. I'm just constantly running on a treadmill right now. Like I'm doing so much stuff because I have a full time role right now, which is not listed on LinkedIn intentionally. Otherwise, I probably would have gotten a message about that company on LinkedIn. Right. So let's see. Interesting. All right. So trying to think if there's anything else that Scott Andrews' memoir is coming too. Andrew, remind me who this Scott Andrews is. I probably should know, but I don't off the top of my head. Okay, I'm gonna have to. I might have to take a break for a second because All right. Anyway, um, yeah, I haven't seen that, but I could venture a good explanation as to why. So they probably have some jamming technology. They being the United States that they're deploying in the area, and that's going to be some of what the electronic effects that you might see are. Okay, interesting. I would love to interview Lou, but channel's too small, I guess. Because I'm on the fence with him. I don't know what to make. Um, I mean, again, my personal view is he's probably on the level to some extent, but he's also trying to straddle a narrative where he has to stay within certain lines. Yeah, who knows? I don't know about. So it's. Did you know Sammy Hagar saw a UFO before he got famous, and then went to a psychic to ask about it, and she told him he would become famous. I know that he saw one, but I didn't know about the psychic or anything like that. Yeah, Rob, I think there's some truth to your comment, but I don't know. It's just speculation on my part. Thank you, Gray Al. Thank you, brother. I'm actually getting lots of viewership tonight. It's kind of probably the knockoff effects of that Zeet or tweet, whatever you want to call it, from yesterday. So if you're new here, I appreciate you. Uh, please hit like, subscribe. I'd humbly appreciate all the views that people are spending their time. They could spend time doing any other thing. I think we're full stop about me is I'm just trying to get to the truth. I'm open to any sort of explanation. I just don't appreciate being lied to, and the fact that our our elites have lied to us for the better part of 80 years really bothers me. Um, again, I mentioned earlier, I'm a patriot. I served my country 5 years as an army officer, and it disgusts me that a country would run information operations against its own people. Like that's just not acceptable. It's just not. And I don't think our government, is. I think it's kind of corrupt to the point of there's no saving it. We just live in a repressive regime, and we pay our taxes under threat of violence. And just hopefully just keep ourselves under the radar, try not to violate too many of the crazy rules. And but I don't think they're ever going to come clean. So it's up to us. It's up to us to crowdsource this information. If they don't like what we're doing, well, they can provide us with more information so we don't have to do it. But they don't. They just, there are these arbitrary invisible boundaries that none of us can see. And, sometimes we might just leap right over them, but that's not our fault. It's not our problem. If you're going to hide the truth about the fundamental nature of reality, that's on you. That's not on us. So any hope that the government's going to come out and provide us with disclosure, I think you're just wasting your time. It's not going to happen. And even if it does happen in little snips, it doesn't matter. I think catastrophic disclosure is the way to go. And any information that comes into your presence, you should report it, and acknowledge its veracity, what you think the probability of whether or not it's true or false. And you have to be open to multiple explanations. If they come out tomorrow and let us know that the Chinese and Russians, or the Russians, have a hyper advanced drone technology that we're incapable of shooting down or whatever, I'm willing to accept that. I just need to see evidence of it. But this whole like stone faced silence deal, the silence is the clue. Okay. The silence is the violence. And by not addressing these things, it just makes people more suspicious and more distrustful of institutions. And I think over the last 10 years, we've done more damage to US institutions than we have in the last 200. And I, this is the one area where they have any hope of bringing back that trust. And they have no intention of doing that. So the fact that some midwit IQ person gets to know about the nature of reality and I don't, and the average American doesn't, that's not acceptable to me. It's just not. So anyway, let's go back to some comments because I kind of let it. I did not see. This is the only comment I saw, Gray Al. So yeah, I don't have like a set view. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if it's by design that it's that way, but who knows? I appreciate that, Michael. Yeah, I am so far from monetizing on X Gray Al that it's like insurmountable. I have about 2% of the impressions that I need over a 3-month period in order to monetize there. It's not worth my time, right? That's just the way it is. Like Spotify is actually where I'm shifting residual efforts because uh that is a good alternative to YouTube. Who knows? Yeah, I think that's right. People have a set narrative and then they just kind of migrate by confirmation bias to the person that says what they want to hear. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate you. Huh. Yeah, so this is the Air Force intelligence guy. He claims to have worked with the Pleiadian beings. One being he worked with firsthand was named Thomas. I'm sure it's not Naked Thomas. Was Naked Thomas. Was named Thomas, I'm assuming. Woo Riders DJ. Posted the photo that he said was declassified in 2015. I'm not throwing out enemies, anything like that, right? I uh, I just don't trust it. That's all. I pay my taxes. I follow the law. I try to avoid um, causing a ruckus. But again, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and render unto God what is God's. I don't know what you're talking about, unicorns, gray owl. Interesting. Yeah, I should reach out to Richard Doty. Frank Milburn's been on a ton of times on my channel, but I can always have him back on. But yeah, there's a whole Frank Milburn playlist on my channel if you haven't seen anything there. Yeah, maybe. So I'm cold says so if the Greys and Pleiadians are real, that means the reptilian thing is real. Maybe. Huh, no, I'm not familiar with Lynn McTaggart, but I can look into her. Yeah, it could be that it's just not funneling everything through StreamYard, Gray Owl. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think something is imminent. I just don't know what that is. Yeah, I think we're in the middle of it. I think something's happening. Huh. Oh, again. Okay. I wouldn't worry about spelling right now. Yeah, I think something imminent is happening. I I think the fact that we're so close to nuclear war is what's driving a lot of this. Nice. No, they're not playing peekaboo. They're like all in plain sight. Nice. Yeah, the old Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. I, on the other hand, am not hearing owls. I'm now hearing them like early in the morning. I mean, can you blame him though? I don't blame him for that. So, he's got to make a living. Huh? That's weird. Uh, no, but I think they started right after we moved nuclear weapons to Lakenheath in the United Kingdom. But though there was some in Langley, Virginia, in December 2023. No. So the next question is: do you think the ETs will stop all nukes from flying, or maybe allow just a few, and then stop the rest in mid-flight or negative takeoff? I wonder if they would. I don't think they would intervene. Um, I think they'd allow a few to. I mean, they allowed Hiroshima and Nagasaki to happen. So I am hearing sugar plum fairies and pink unicorns. You will think, okay, interesting. Yeah, it was December 2023, I think, at Langley Air Force Base that they started showing up, at least recently. Although there were some UAPs over Canada, Alaska, stuff like that. Nick, 100%. 100%. Nick writes, I hate the way the news and military are calling these things drones. And it's all because we're in highlighted conflict with Russia and China. 100%. They stopped calling them UAPs, right? Because it's already got a connotation with UFOs. Um, the problem is in StreamYard, you can't do callers. So the question is, have you ever considered doing an Art Bell thing, having a guest on for a designated time slot and then taking callers? So StreamYard, the only way you can have callers is if you actually have like send the code out and actually have somebody come on, right? So you can't really do it with a StreamYard format. The app is not designed to do that in a good way. But I do have guests pretty regularly. It's just in recent weeks I haven't. I haven't had time. Uh, so in Europe, so Sean, in European, how many species of aliens have interacted with the global elites, military government? I I don't even know where to begin. It could be zero. It could be whatever's here has always been here. Uh, but it could be the traditional whatever three that people always talk about, right? The human like, the grays, and kind of reptilian like. So I don't know. Thanks, Kelly. Goodbye, 800. Yeah, I again, a very small channel, people. It's not like um, the amount of effort I put into this is not remotely proportional to the remuneration that I get. So um, we still have to go a pretty long way before any of that happens. So my advice would just be to continue to look up in the sky and see if you see any of this stuff as time goes forward. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but even then it's like it's tough. Oh yeah, yeah, he's definitely on fire. He's definitely on fire. Right. It is yeah, well we don't know what they are. That's the thing. But they could be piloted craft for all we know, right? There's just not enough information. There's like an information vacuum right now. Yeah, I think it's likely they're underground and it's likely they're in the oceans. I'm not sure why, but it just all depends. So, I wonder where these things are right now. If there's more flaps, do we think it's going to expand other places or not? Sorry, I'm just getting a lot of noise here, and it's driving me up a brick wall. Oh, they're coming. People in New Jersey are reporting that they're coming from a lake. What? Yeah, I've heard stories of the Denver airport. I don't know what to make of it. It's probably some massive underground structure that's connected to Cheyenne Mountain and a number of other places. You're probably hearing. I might. I'm just trying to see if there's the number of earthquakes a few weeks back from California to Texas. Same depth. Wondering if the military is setting off. I don't know. There was a 7.0 off the coast of just to the north of where I am right now. And we had a tsunami warning last week. Nothing happened though. It's fine. Yeah, it is pretty convenient. I think it's deliberately. So Michael Kenny writes, I wonder what they would call these things if drones didn't exist. Pretty convenient. Yeah, it's certainly very convenient. Yeah, I'm in the Bay. I didn't feel anything either. Some people did apparently, but I felt nothing. The real things are elsewhere. What do you mean by real things, Casson? I'm just waiting for more folks to chime in. What are their chatter or folks hearing right now? Let's see if there's anything on Twitter or anything like that. Um, yeah. Speaking of Rich, he just had a tweet out that we called that veiled threat a flinch. And generally, someone competent would just let these comments pass, and you know, but by reacting and drawing attention to themselves, it's a data point, and it just confirms that we're on the right path, whatever the right path is. Good question. So the reason I initially started a channel was I had a anthology coming out, and I wanted to market the anthology, and the anthology was Weird World War IV. And since it combined where geopolitics met the paranormal, that's kind of how I got started. And then very quickly, I found out that from a views perspective, more people were interested in the paranormal, and I was more interested in the paranormal. But I still focus on where there's an intersection between the two, which is actually perfect given what's happening right now. But I think I'm on the only channel that explicitly focuses on both. Yeah, Nick. Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think the military and government have no idea of how to handle whatever is going on right now, and they're putting out actual drones alongside the UAPs just to be able to call them drones. I think you're right, Nick, and I think the other problem is most of the people in the government have no idea what's going on. I think there's probably 1,000 people in the UAP community that know more than most high governmental officials just by examining the history, right? But there is a small group of perhaps 50 people who are read in on the core story, whatever that might be. And those people are the real problem. Yeah, that's that's an interesting dream. Yeah, I think Nick's onto something. I think there's some people who know what they're doing, but it's probably limited to 50 people because they're the ones that know the core secret. The rest of the government's just flailing. They have no idea. FBI has no idea, right? They're just responding. So who knows? All right, what else? We got more here. Oh, what are they? Or know is different than believe, right? Oh yeah, I heard that. The person that perpetrated that was instantly identified as a glowy, and just put on the list, and we know that anything that they say is garbage. Because if there's a company that's actively, you know, running an operation for the US military, the FBI wouldn't be investigating this. Right? So it's just it the argument falls apart on its face. Yeah, I saw. But I'm just gonna ignore it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure how to interpret that, but I think some of the stuff we're seeing is real stuff. I could be wrong, and I'm willing to admit it because obviously we don't have like slam dunk evidence. But the fact that it's been weeks and we still can't figure this stuff out, that's pretty that's pretty sketchy, right? It kind of indicates that we don't have a clue, right? Like we have no idea. No idea. Let's see what else do we have here. All right. I think even that 50 people can't properly do their job. Maybe earlier when they were serious people handling the black projects, that's something. But now they're yeah. The other thing that I've heard is that this core secret is something that's handed down from like family to family. Again, I don't know if that's the truth, but if that's the case, that's really disturbing, right? Which would explain why there's so much rank stupidity that you're seeing, right? You want to give this problem to the best people, not your descendants, right? Because as we all know, things tend to revert toward the mean. So there was an example of that earlier, but I'm not going to disparage somebody. Um, yeah, bloodline elite. That scares me a little bit too. Um, because like people like the king of England, like I have zero respect for people like that that just are born into wealth, and like those people are hard to for people like me to respect, right? Everything's handed to them. They don't have to earn anything, you know. They don't have to build things up themselves, rise up from their own bootstraps, et cetera, et cetera. But you never know. You never know. Anybody seeing anything new on this whole drone situation? Well, if you signed a security oath and you would go to prison for the rest of your life, you would have an incentive to keep your mouth shut, right? And even some people like Cal Putoff and stuff like that who probably know the core secret, they're doing the best they can to get as much of it out as they can without violating their security oaths. Yeah. I mean, you can always try. Given that no one's ever provided us with any intelligence about what's dangerous and what's not dangerous, you might as well try, you know? Let's see. I'm just trying to see if there's anything new. Yeah, I know. Yeah, maybe. But Elizondo may have a job to do. Oh, I mean, they're all. If anybody thinks that any of them went rogue, they didn't. Like this is a very controlled process, right? That's why nobody will talk to anybody who talks about UFOs except when Lou Elizondo shows up. He'll get a spot on CBS News, right? That means he's got juice. That means somebody in officialdom, you know, he's working for them. He may be working for good, right? It might be an elite faction that wants to get this stuff out, but it's definitely coordinated. There's no doubt in my mind, right? So I don't know if Chris Bledsoe's coming in the current sightings. I'd be curious to see if he has. I have no idea. Um, let me see. Again, I'm trying to see if there's any other news out. I'm already seeing memes of this very podcast. I'm getting data in real time. Explanation. Let's see. Whoa, that's weird. There's so much stuff out there that you really can't. I'm seeing like one of is it 8 hours ago by UFO Media. It shows a UFO entering a portal through a portal in Germany. Like I have no idea what the veracity of this stuff is. Yeah, so I'm seeing the drone crash that you were all reporting about in New Jersey. Again, it's unconfirmed. Yeah, there's another one in Boontown, New Jersey. I'm just trying to see if there's any more. Yeah, so there was one allegedly down tonight. So it's December 8th, 2024. We'll see. But again, it could just be an attempt by the intelligence community to shut this down and kind of declare victory and then move on. So just you have to be of two minds, right? Because this is not fun for authorities to kind of constantly have no answers, right? And feel and look impotent. It's not, that's not what people in government like. All right, let's see. Yeah, I mean that's interesting. That's right. You get the most flack when you're over the target. 100%. Allegory. Allegory. I get it. Allegory. Yeah. Denver Airport is a cover for what? I mean, it's definitely an airport, but I think it's also the entrance to an underground complex that is extensive and leads to multiple U.S. military sites like Cheyenne Mountain, stuff like that. I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. It makes sense. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, there's all kinds of geopolitical insanity going right now. We already talked about Syria. Um, okay, I'm just trying to see if there's anything. Oh yeah, yeah. Apparently, one of these things buzzed the Secretary of Defense yesterday. I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday or earlier this week. Right, it flew over whatever building that they were in. Let's see. Yeah, I don't. I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing a lot right now at the moment. So again, I'm scanning to see if there's any new reports, but I think I've pretty much exhausted all the information that I currently have. Let's see. Oh, what does this lead to? I wish I could like. Thing is, this app doesn't let me cut and paste that, so it's. Oh, but it is that is Rich Geldrich, so I will have to check. It could be. It could be. So Nick Reyes is asking, "Hey Sean, do you think this could be an attempt at blue beam on the people?" It could be, but that's a little too deep conspiracy theory for me. But I'm open to multiple explanations. Right? You have to like try to be take in the data and formulate a hypothesis. And right now there's just so many theories that it's hard to get it tied together. Yeah, it is pretty on the nose with the murals and paintings. People also don't who want to hide something don't get that obvious. I agree. Yeah, yeah, I think that's right. Let's see. Let me just check his Geldrich's feed. See if he usually has the best stuff. Oh, 41 seconds ago. Oh man, I'm going to share this one. Um, how can I do this in an intelligent way? Um, here, bear with me. I'm sharing this one. Okay. Sorry, I have like a billion windows, and I'm trying to navigate back towards something. It goes away. So present. Yeah, Rich delivered at exactly the right time. Okay. All right. So this is Gloucester Township, New Jersey. Video from Facebook is forwarded to him. Apparently, witnesses were saying it was releasing something. I don't see it yet. There it is. Here we go. Yeah, you see like a trail behind it, right? Puff, puff. That is creepy. All right. So that was creepy. So I want to make it creepier. My apologies in advance. So during the Dark Ages, there were these. This is where the legend of the Grim Reaper came from. At the edge of villages, prior to the plague outbreaks in various towns and villages, they would report that these hooded figures would show up outside the outskirts of the town, and they had things that looked like scythes that would dispense, like spray the area with something, and then shortly thereafter there would be an outbreak of plague. Maybe whatever this phenomenon is has been with us for a very long time, and this, I know it's creepy. I'm not saying that's what it is. I am just speculating, but in the absence of information, let's see. I'm just trying to get through. Oh, come on, guys. Let's stay out of politics. I know I kind of go there too often, but let's stay out of politics. Yeah, I think it's they don't want us escalating into nuclear war. I think that's yeah, the bubonic plagues. Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, it's kind of not good. Oh yeah, the wild hunt. Interesting. Yeah, so let's see what else. Rich has always got good stuff in his profile. So that was the first hit of any. Actually, I just moved it, so I gotta go to the thing I moved it to. Yeah, that's the next step. I think they've been spot. So Geldrich is writing the flap continues. If the flap continues and spreads to New York City or DC, it's going to be a glorious circus. That's 100% right. And I think that's what's. I think that's what's coming next. I think it's already appeared over Staten Island, is my understanding. So yeah, apparently there was a military helicopter and drone spotted over Bedminster, the Hills, New Jersey, at 8 p.m. This is Eastern time, so 5 p.m. So 3 hours ago today. Yeah. Anyway, lots of crazy stuff. Lots of crazy stuff tonight. So if anybody has any like videos or stuff like that, just tag me on Twitter. Um, you can just look up my name, Sean Patrick Hazlett, or you can look up Through a Glass Darkly. I also have an account there. But just tag me, and we can start to accumulate these things. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's all the same to me, but I know to New Yorkers it's an insult. That's I understand. I don't think they're going to go away because the system's not responding in the way that I think these things want it to respond. Yeah, there's one of these things like flew over my friend's house tonight, like in Springfield, Pennsylvania. Like that's kind of the real time stuff I was getting. So it's insane. So I'm just telling everybody to keep their eyes to the sky, eyes to the sky, eyes to the sky, eyes to the sky, and just record and document as best you can before they explain this stuff away. Whatever the new swamp gas is, balloon, you know, thermal inversion, whatever craziness that they. That's good. The number, yeah. So And don't presuppose it. Don't immediately conclude that it's anomalous because it might be a helicopter. It might be an aircraft, right? You don't know. Yeah, I think so too. So Michael Kenny's right. I've said it numerous times. My gut feeling is that they are fed up with the gatekeepers. If they don't change and start talking, the NHI will do it for them. I agree. Interesting. Well, I mean, there's Diego Garcia way out there, but that's like probably it looks like it's close to Sri Lanka on the map, but it's probably thousands of miles away. That's where I would think you would see drone sightings. Like if you were stationed on that British base of Diego Garcia, which I think the U.S. runs a bit of it, or maybe runs the whole thing. But there's some like agreement that the United States has with Britain in Diego Garcia. So we shall see. All right, I'm going to wrap it up in about 3 minutes. So if you have any final questions, please do let me know. And thank you for folks who've joining in for the first time. I appreciate you, and thank you for at least hearing me out. It's been a crazy few days with this stuff. I wish I could focus 100% of my time on it because I would just go to these places and try to get a good site, get a good camera, and try to figure out what's going on. Because whatever it is, I mean, the government's not acquitting itself well in any case, right? So if you assume that there are three primary narratives, right? It's Russia, Chinese drones that are engaging in continuous acts of war against the United States for weeks on end. That's one theory. Another theory is there's some big training exercise that exposes the United States government to massive litigation risk, or these things are not made by human hands and NHI are trying to get our attention for some reason. Either way, the United States looks, or in any of these three scenarios, the United States looks impotent, utterly impotent. I would prefer that they be impotent against an advanced non human technology than against the Russians or Chinese. That terrifies me. And I would like to assume that they aren't completely incompetent if they're, by running, testing exercises over the most densely populated state in the union. I think that would also be ridiculous. So I'm hoping the NHI explanation that seems to be the most comforting, if any of this is comforting. But the other two, like the U.S. is done, like it's over. And I mean, the litigation thing, it's not over. It's just we have a bunch of idiots. You would have to assume. The Russia China thing, though, that is terrifying if that's true. That we can't stop them in penetrating our airspace with these tiny drones. That's problematic. Super problematic. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate you. Correct. I have not visited any crop circles, but maybe someday. I hear it's an experience at the very least. Thank you, Bruno. Interesting. Yep, it is governed by the Brits for sure. Yeah, I agree, Terrence. Something doesn't pass the sniff test. I appreciate that, Grail. Thank you. I'm cold. All right, everyone. God bless. Good night, and I bid you adieu. And take care of yourselves. All right. Thanks again.